Finn Hastings had always prided himself on the simplicity of his past. Born into a world of medicine, he had grown up with a strong sense of duty, a man of discipline and focus, never questioning the quiet life he'd built for himself. Yet, the quiet life he'd worked so hard to create was about to come crashing down, shattering his world as he knew it. It all started with an old medical record. It was late one evening when Finn, trying to clear out some personal files in the Forrester archives, stumbled upon a file that caught his attention, something he hadn't expected to find in the maze of paperwork. At first, it seemed unremarkable, just another case history labeled with a random patient ID number, but as he scanned the contents, his breath caught. The name wasn't familiar, but the details made his heart race. It was a file from his own early childhood. A file buried deep in the medical records of a long-forgotten case, one that his mother, Sheila Carter, had hidden so well. The file detailed a set of twins born to Sheila, but one had been sold to a wealthy family in Europe for reasons that seemed to defy explanation. Finn's twin brother, a child he had never known existed, had been taken away from him at birth, his existence erased from the narrative Sheila had fed him for years. The note mentioned that Finn's twin had grown up under a different name in an entirely different life. It was a bombshell, the kind that didn't just upend one's understanding of family, but rewrote everything Finn thought he knew about his identity. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. His whole life, everything he had been told, was a lie. And this new truth about his brother, his twin, sent Finn spiraling. He had to know more. The medical record had nothing more than a name, Adam. But Finn couldn't shake the feeling that the name might be a clue, something that would unlock the door to a part of his past he had never known. Determined to understand the truth, Finn began digging deeper, and what he uncovered shook him to his core. His twin brother was alive. Not only that, but he was now an accomplished and highly respected neurologist in Europe, Dr. Adam Hastings, a world-renowned expert in neurodegenerative diseases. Finn knew that if his brother was as successful as the record suggested, he had to have heard of him, perhaps seen his name on medical journals or even referenced in professional circles. But he had never heard of Adam. The idea of a sibling, let alone a twin, living a life so entirely separate from his own was almost too much to bear. Yet, there was something else lurking in the back of Finn's mind. If Adam had been raised by another family in Europe, why hadn't he come searching for Finn, or at least reached out? Had Sheila kept their separation a secret for so long that Adam never even knew he had a brother? The answers, Finn realized, were buried deep within his mother's past. So deep, in fact, that they had been kept hidden even from him. But the more he delved into Adam's life, the more Finn felt an inexplicable pull. Something inside him told him that Adam's existence was no coincidence, that somehow their paths were meant to cross. It wasn't long before Finn's suspicions became reality. A phone call came in late one evening, the voice on the other end carrying an accent Finn couldn't place at first. "Dr. Finn Hastings?" the voice inquired. "Yes," Finn replied, his heart racing. "I am Dr. Adam Hastings. I believe we need to talk." That conversation marked the beginning of something neither of them could have anticipated. Adam, it turned out, had been in Los Angeles for some time, though Finn had no idea. He had been invited by the Forrester family to consult on a case, Eric Forrester, who had been battling a serious health crisis related to his neurological health. Adam had been brought in as a specialist, though no one had connected him to Finn until the meeting took place. The moment Finn saw Adam in the sterile, professional setting of the Forrester estate, something stirred inside him. The similarities were undeniable. His twin, standing before him, the same sharp eyes, the same set jaw, the same subtle mannerisms. They were alike in ways that only twins could be. But the differences were just as striking. Adam exuded confidence and authority in ways Finn had never fully embraced. He carried himself like someone who had built an empire, someone who had mastered his world. Finn felt a sharp pang of jealousy as he watched Adam speak with Eric Forrester, whose appreciation for Adam's brilliance was evident in every word. The two doctors seemed to bond immediately, their mutual respect for each other's skill transcending professional courtesy. Finn watched as Adam made a lasting impression on the Forrester patriarch, guiding Eric through a complicated treatment plan with ease. It didn't take long for the Forrester family to take notice of Adam, and his place in the Forrester world soon became inevitable. But it wasn't just his medical expertise that captivated them, it was his ambition. Adam wasn't content merely to be a doctor. No, Adam had grander designs. He saw Forrester Creations not just as a family business, but as an opportunity. An opportunity to secure his place in the Forrester legacy, a place that Finn, who had only recently started to understand his true family ties, now found himself torn over. And it wasn't long before Adam's presence began to affect more than just the Forrester company's health. It began to seep into Steffy Forrester's life. Steffy, fresh from the emotional fallout of her complicated relationship with Finn, found herself drawn to Adam in ways she hadn't expected. He wasn't just a brilliant neurologist with a disarming smile. He was assertive, charming, and exuded a quiet power that Steffy found both intriguing and intoxicating. The two of them began spending more time together, initially under the guise of discussing Eric's treatment, but soon the line between doctor-patient and something more blurred. Steffy, who had always been the emotional core of the Forrester family, was drawn to Adam's ambition, his calculated drive to take control of the future. And as they spent time together, their connection deepened, their conversations moving from professional to personal. Adam was smart, charismatic, and his knowledge of the Forrester legacy intrigued her. But it wasn't just his brilliance. There was something about his assertiveness, his boldness, that resonated with her, something she hadn't realized she craved in her relationships until she met him. Finn, ever the steady presence, began to notice the growing bond between Steffy and Adam. At first, it was subtle, the way Steffy would lean in to listen to Adam's ideas, the way her gaze lingered a little too long during their discussions. But soon, it became undeniable. The chemistry between them was palpable. And for Finn, the realization hit like a punch to the gut. Steffy, his wife, the woman who had stood by him through so much, was falling for the one person he never expected to compete with, his own twin brother. As Steffy and Adam's professional interactions turned personal, it became clear that Adam wasn't just interested in Steffy's company. He was interested in securing a place in the Forrester family for himself. The ambition that had driven him all his life now took a more personal form. He wasn't content with just a position in the company. He wanted power, control, a legacy of his own. And Steffy, despite her own reservations, found herself pulled deeper into his orbit. She felt an undeniable connection, one that drew her closer to him with each passing day. Finn, however, was left in a whirlwind of confusion and betrayal. His twin brother, the very man he had been separated from at birth, was not just a medical genius and a rival for the Forrester legacy. He was now a romantic rival as well. As Finn struggled with his feelings of inadequacy and fear of losing Steffy, Adam's ambition became more apparent. He began making calculated moves, maneuvering himself into a position where he could not only challenge Finn, but take what he believed was rightfully his control of the Forrester family legacy. Finn, torn between family loyalty and the crushing fear that he was losing everything, realized that this was not just a battle over a woman. It was a battle for the future of the Forrester dynasty, a battle that Adam was determined to win. The presence of the long-lost twin, a man whose ambition could rival even the strongest of Forrester men, created a rift that no one could have predicted. As Finn and Adam's paths converged in this intricate web of love, power, and family, the stakes grew higher, and the future of the Forrester empire hung in the balance. The bold and the beautiful were about to witness the most intense clash of sibling rivalry, ambition, and love the Forrester family had ever seen. And the question remained, who would emerge victorious in the battle for the legacy, the love, and the future of the Forrester name? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. As the days wore on, Finn Hastings found himself increasingly torn between the growing distance he felt from Steffy and the realization that his long-lost twin brother, Adam, was not just a man of ambition. No, Adam was far more dangerous than Finn had originally anticipated. Adam's charm, his brilliance, his assertiveness, these traits that had drawn Steffy to him were nothing more than a carefully constructed mask, hiding a dark, ruthless side that no one could have foreseen. Adam's ambition for the Forrester legacy had always been clear, but Finn had no idea just how far Adam was willing to go to secure his place in the family, in the business, and in Steffy's life. As Steffy and Adam's connection grew stronger, Finn's own relationship with Steffy began to fray at the edges. He had watched as she leaned more into Adam's presence, seemingly captivated by his intellect, his drive, and, most disturbingly, his growing influence within the Forrester empire. It wasn't just a romantic connection anymore, it was a strategic one. Adam wasn't just a man of ideas, he was a man of action, and Finn had no idea how deeply Adam had already plotted his path to the top. It wasn't until the fateful day when Steffy disappeared without a trace that Finn realized just how dangerous Adam had become. It started with a simple phone call. Finn was in the middle of a meeting with the Forrester board, discussing the latest designs and product launches when his phone buzzed. The message was short, cryptic, and chilling. "Steffy is mine. If you want to see her again, come to the warehouse. I'll be waiting." The message was signed with nothing more than a cryptic symbol, a twisted A. Finn's stomach dropped. His heart pounded in his chest as he rushed from the meeting, unable to comprehend the horror that was unfolding. He had to find Steffy now. As Finn scrambled to make sense of what was happening, he received a call from Ridge, his father-in-law, his voice tight with fear. "Finn, Steffy's gone. She disappeared from the office without a word, and the last trace we have of her is a message that came through her phone. She's been kidnapped, Finn. And I think I know who did it." Finn's blood ran cold as Ridge's suspicions fell on none other than Adam. It made sense. The ambitious, calculating man who had wormed his way into the family, who had been pushing his way through the Forrester hierarchy, who had been so fixated on Steffy. But even as Ridge voiced his concerns, Finn struggled to accept it. Adam couldn't be capable of such an extreme act, could he? The answer came moments later, when Finn arrived at the dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town, the one Adam had rented months ago under an alias. The air around the place was thick with foreboding, and the shadows inside the building seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. Finn stepped cautiously through the dark, his every nerve alight with dread, until he heard the faint sound of Steffy's voice, muffled but unmistakable, echoing from the far corner of the room. His heart leaped into his throat as he followed the sound, praying that he wasn't too late. But as he turned the corner, what he saw was worse than any nightmare. There, bound to a chair in the center of the room, was Steffy, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. And standing before her, with a cold smirk on his face, was Adam. He was everything Finn had feared and more, cold, calculating, and utterly ruthless. "Ah, Finn," Adam said, his voice smooth, but with an edge that sent chills down Finn's spine. "I've been waiting for you. Welcome to my little game." Finn's fists clenched in fury. "Let her go, Adam. Now. This is insane." Adam chuckled, his gaze flickering to Steffy, who struggled against her restraints, her eyes pleading for Finn to do something. "I'm afraid it's not that simple," Adam replied, his tone darkening. "You see, Steffy's well-being is directly tied to my demands. You've always been a step behind me, Finn. I'm the one who belongs in the Forrester family, not you. I'm the one who deserves the legacy, the wealth, and the power that your name holds. And you're going to give it to me." Finn's mind raced as he processed Adam's words. This wasn't just about Steffy, it was about the entire Forrester empire. Adam had orchestrated this entire scheme, taking Steffy as leverage, forcing Finn into a corner where he would have no choice but to comply with his demands. "You think you can just walk in here and take everything from me?" Finn spat, his voice filled with rage. "You think you can take Steffy, use her as a pawn, and expect me to just hand you the Forrester legacy?" Adam's eyes darkened, his smirk never wavering. "You've always been naive, Finn. You're so focused on doing things the right way that you never saw the bigger picture. I was patient, played my cards just right. And now, all of this, everything you've worked for, everything you hold dear, is mine. You'll do as I say, or Steffy will pay the price." Finn's world came crashing down as the weight of Adam's words sank in. He had underestimated his brother in every way possible. Adam was no longer just a man trying to gain a foothold in the Forrester family. He was a dangerous, power-hungry individual who would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. And in that moment, Finn knew that the only way to save Steffy and the family he held dear was to fight back in ways he never imagined. Adam's grin widened as he saw the conflict flickering in Finn's eyes. "You'll find out, Finn. You'll find out that I am always one step ahead. One way or another, you'll come around. Just don't take too long. I'm sure Steffy would love to see you make a decision before she runs out of time." With that, Adam turned, leaving Finn standing there, heart pounding in his chest. Finn rushed to Steffy's side, desperately cutting the ropes that bound her. Her eyes locked with his, filled with a mixture of relief and fear. "Finn, you have to stop him," Steffy whispered, her voice barely audible. "He's dangerous. He'll destroy everything." "I won't let him, Steffy," Finn promised, his voice steely with determination. "I won't let him win." But Adam's words echoed in Finn's mind, taunting him, "One way or another, you'll come around." As Finn helped Steffy to her feet, he knew that the fight was only just beginning. Adam wasn't just after the Forrester legacy, he was after everything Finn held dear. And Finn would stop at nothing to make sure that his brother didn't destroy the family, the business, and the love that had been built over generations. This was no longer just about Steffy. This was a battle for the future of the Forrester empire, and Finn knew he would have to face Adam head-on before it was too late. The bold and the beautiful world was now in the midst of a battle far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. A battle between brothers, with the future of the Forrester name hanging in the balance.